All right, let us go to our interview with Andy Weir. You know, I really admire this guy. First of all, I love The Martian. I thought it was a terrific book, and it had that line, which I just think is a really great modern American line. We're going to science the blank out of it, where, you know, there's this very hopeful, very uplifting line. He made his name self-publishing the debut novel, and this is what he and I talk about. It became a worldwide hit. It was later adapted into the film by Ridley Scott, starring Matt Damon. His new book is called Artemis. It is a near-future heist story set on the moon, which is what's cool about it is, as he'll tell you, it's all the technology in it is available now. The book is out now. Artemis is out now. It's also being adapted into a feature film, and you can find a copy on Amazon.com or anywhere else where books are sold, if there is anywhere else where books are still sold. Andy Weir talking about his new book, Artemis, and how he wrote The Martian. Andy, thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
You've got a new book coming out, and I want to talk about Artemis. It's really entertaining. I'm just starting it, but it's really entertaining. But I want to talk.
Not pulling you through? Is that it?
What's that?
Just not pulling you through?
No. I will be driving straight to the end. There's no question about it. But I want to talk to you about your whole experience, because you kind of exemplify this new world of publishing that is really all over the place. I mean, you start out, you're a tech guy, right? You were a software guy?
Yeah, I was a software engineer for 25 years.
Okay.
I mean, I always wanted to be a writer. A lot of people, like, the narrative of my tale to success is often that I was just like, you know, people think I was a software engineer, and in his spare time he wrote a story once, and then massive success. Well, what they don't talk about are the 20 years worth of really crappy writing that I did first.
Yeah,
right.
most overnight successes have a 20-year night. You know.
Yeah. So I did for what it's worth. I did pay my dues by being really bad at it for a long time, and The Martian is actually the third complete book that I wrote. It was just the first one that didn't suck, right?
Oh, okay.
And and I also wrote a lot of short stories and stuff. And I spent 3 years earlier in life trying to break into the publishing industry the old-fashioned way, just sending query letters out to agents and stuff like that, and getting no interest in the book that I was working on at the time. So I know the pain.
So when you wrote The Martian, did you do that? Did you actually query agents, or did you not at all?
No, at that point I'd given up on ever being a professional author, and I was just doing it as a labor of love. It was my hobby by that point. That's why I was just posting chapters to my website for free and hoping that people would read them and enjoy them.
And did you have any sense, gee, this is good, this is better than I've done in the past?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely knew that it was better than anything I'd made in the past. I had no idea that it would have mainstream appeal and become as popular as it did. But yeah, I'm like, ooh, this is definitely better than my previous two books. And I had a mailing list of readers, and they'd email me their feedback, and it was all very positive, and that helped motivate me to finish.
And did you, how big was your mailing list? I mean, did you have a big website to begin with?
No, I mean, I had about a mailing list of about 3,000 people,
okay,
which sounds like a lot, but it took me 10 years to accumulate that list.
Okay.
So my website was a place where I just kind of dumped anything that I did that was creative. So I would make web comics, I made short stories, and some serials. And The Martian was one of 3 serials that I was working on at the same time.
And at what point did it start to take off? I mean, you're sending it out, you're getting nice responses from your 3,000 people, which is, like, as you say, it sounds like a lot, but it's not really that many in terms of a mainstream success. How did it get from there to becoming getting a broader audience?
Well, what happened was, once I finished it, I said, like, okay, I'm done. I'm going to work on other things now. And I started getting email from people, and they said, hey, I really love your story, but I hate reading books on a website. I mean, that's not fun. So can you make an e-reader version? Pardon me. And I said, sure. And so I figured out how to make an e-reader version, and I posted that to my site. Then I got email from other people saying, oh, hey, I'm glad there's an e-reader version, but I'm not very technically savvy, and I don't know how to take a thing from the internet and put it on my Kindle. Can you just post it to Amazon so that I can get it through their system? So I did, and Amazon makes you charge at least 99 cents.
Right.
So I set the price to the minimum 99 cents. and then they hang on to it for 24 hours and take a look at it just to make sure it's not goat porn or something. And well, because if it is goat porn, they want it properly categorized.
I thought they could charge more than 99 cents. Yeah.
Yeah, right. But anyway, and then I said, like, okay, folks, you can read it on my website for free, download it, the e-reader version from my website for free, or pay Amazon $1 to put it on your Kindle for you. And people paid the $1. And so I think there was a few reasons why it got really popular really quickly on Amazon. First off, I already had a core group of 3,000 readers, and a lot of people had emailed me in the past like, hey, you should put a donate button on your website because you're providing us with all this content and you don't even have ads or anything. So I'd like to be able to like donate to like site maintenance or whatever. And I'm like, well, thank you. I appreciate it, but I'm a software engineer. I actually make a pretty good income. I don't really need the money. If you want to donate, please donate to cancer research. That's what I would always say. And so I had a fan base who was a lot of them wanted to find a way to give me money because I wasn't accepting donations. So when I put the book up for sale on Amazon, they all went and bought it as a means of giving me money, even though they read it.
Okay.
And so
now, are we still at your core? Are we still with your core 3,000, or has that grown?
Just with my at this point, still just my core 3,000. Okay. But they bought it, and then I already had like 3,000 people who had read it. And so they wrote, not all of them, obviously, but a lot of them wrote positive Amazon reviews, some negative, whatever, but they wrote Amazon reviews. So it started to it was highly rated, had a large number of reviews, and was starting and came out of the gate selling bizarrely well because a bunch of my fans bought it, after having read it, like, paying it forward kind of thing.
Right.
And so because of that, I think that ended up, this was not intentional at all, but it ended up hitting all the buttons that makes Amazon start recommending it to people, right? It's like, oh, this is selling reasonably well. It has a good rating. It has a lot of reviews. This is not some astroturfing thing. It's genuinely popular. And to be fair, it was. I had, like a few thousand people who liked it. And that started it got around by word of mouth. People started recommending it to each other. Then it started working its way up into the top sellers list for Amazon Kindle, or first it was for sci-fi, then all of Kindle and so on. And once that happens, then it really snowballs, because then, someone's like, oh, I want to read a science fiction book. I don't know, though. What are the top 10 sellers right now? And, so your sales go up dramatically once you get on that list.
Wow. So was there a day when you suddenly looked up and thought, holy moly, something just happened? Or was it a slow burn?
Yeah. Well, it was like, when I first posted it up there, I was getting maybe like 5 to 10 sales a day. I was like, I don't care, right? I was like, whatever.
Right.
I didn't expect that many to happen because it was for free on my website. But then by the time, a couple of months later, so I posted it in September of 2012, and by December, it was selling like 500 copies a day. And I thought, that's pretty good, I think. I'm not sure. But when you post things to Kindle KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing, you're automatically part of this forum. You can go in and post to other authors, right? And I saw other authors talking about, oh man, I love Christmas time. I sold 5 copies of my book today. I'm like, my numbers are really high. That's when I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then I got contacted by a literary agent who said like, hey, do you have representation? Because I think I could sell your book to a major publisher. I've read it. I think I can sell it. And I'm like, no, I don't, but I guess I do now. And so he's still my agent today, David Fugate, great agent. And he sold the book to Crown Publishing, a division of Random House, and kind of went from there.
Wow, that's amazing. One thing, just to go back a minute, when you were writing this and posting it, were you posting it as you were writing it, or had you written it already and were just posting it?
No, I was posting it as I wrote it, so at a chapter at a time.
And did you rewrite it at all?
Yeah, of course. Well, first off, there's always editing. And every time I wrote a chapter, I would go through multiple editing passes before I posted it. And then I also had a general warning on my website to readers saying like, hey, this is a serial, but the earlier chapters are not set in stone. I reserve the right to change them, because what's happening is you're watching me write a book. And if I need to go back and change stuff, I will.
Okay.
And so there were times when that happened where somebody emailed and said like, oh, hey, I just started reading The Martian now. I see you're up on chapter 7, but back in chapter 3, you have this error in chemistry, right? and it was a significant mistake, and I had to go change some of the plot structure around it to fix that problem and get it back onto the main plot line. So I had to go back and make changes to like chapter 3 and like that. And so I told my readers, I just sent out a thing. I would send out an email whenever I posted a new chapter, and I sent out an email and said like, hey everybody, I made changes to chapter 3. You can either go read the chapter, or you can read a little paragraph I put below that details what changed. Then you'll be back up to date. You can do it the long way or this way.
So now you've,
for the most part,
yeah.
It was not intended to be a serial experience. It's not like reading Sherlock Holmes in the Strand, right? It's like they're not set in stone just because I've already posted them.
It was the experience of watching you write the book. So now you sell the book. Obviously, it's sold to the movies. How was your experience with the publisher and with the movie people? How did it? I mean, obviously you're thrilled.
It's fantastic.
But, yeah,
I mean,
it was great.
It couldn't have gone better. And along every step of the way, everybody told me it never goes this well. Don't get used to this. And so like, The Martian, like the editors at the editor, Julian Padilla at Crown Publishing in New York, an imprint of Random House, he loved the book the way it was. And the only, feedback he had was like, it was a lot of like nuts and bolts stuff. Like, this paragraph is really awkward, or this scene doesn't seem to really fit in with these scenes. And it wasn't anything like, there were no big structural changes or anything that he wanted. And my agent was like, when we were finished with all that, my agent was like, that was a really smooth editing process. Don't expect future processes to be that smooth. And then Julian, said like, oh man, we're putting in all this money into advertising and marketing the book. And my agent's like, that is a huge advertising effort. Publishers never do that. Don't get used to that. And then, Fox bought the film rights, which was awesome. And then everyone said, don't get excited,
because they're not going to make it. Yeah.
Studios, buy movie options all the time. It's a nice little tiny supplement income, but don't get excited. They're probably not going to make the movie. And then when they made the movie, all along the way, the producers now, Aditya Sood of Simon Kinberg Productions was like, man, everything's going smooth on this. It's never this easy. Don't get used to this.
So, well, that brings me to Artemis, which is your new book. It's a terrific idea. It really is. In fact, well, I'll let you tell it.
Well, maybe if you get to page 2 or 3.
But get past that. Don't push me. Don't push me.
The dedication is kind of long. So
I will let you.
always give people crap. I know exactly what it's like in the industry, where you just, it's like, well, here's 10,000 books everyone assumes you've read.
I know. I get books all the time. But actually, I love The Martian, and I'm really enjoing this. I'm just a dyslexic, slow reader, so it's going to take me a while.
I just like throwing shade.
But I will let you describe the idea, because it really is a wonderful premise.
Oh, thanks. Artemis takes place in humanity's first city that's not on Earth. It's on the moon, about 40 kilometers from the Apollo 11 landing site. It's primarily a tourist destination. It takes place in the 2080s, when travel to the moon is very expensive, yet barely affordable to the middle class. Like if you got a second mortgage on your house, you could have a lunar vacation. The main character is a woman who was originally from Saudi Arabia, but she's lived in Artemis, which is the name of the city. She's lived in Artemis since she was 6 years old. She grew up there, and she's a small-time criminal. She's a smuggler. She brings in contraband stuff that's not allowed in the city, and just kind of low-stakes criminal. And she gets offered an opportunity to do a big bit of industrial sabotage for a huge payoff, and she reluctantly takes it because she wants that money to pay off an old debt. And of course, everything goes fine. There are no complications, and the book ends nice and no, it's just the standard heist story archetype.
It's a crime novel, but it's set on the moon, which is really it really is different and very. I mean, it's not that far away, is it? I mean, it's pretty realistic.
That's the goal. All the technology in it is real tech. And actually, even though it takes place further in the future than The Martian, it's actually less speculative on the technology than The Martian. Like literally, except for later in the book, there is some new technology that you hear about that is fictional. But the whole construction of Artemis, how it was made, how it was built, how people live there, how they get there and back. That's all real technology that exists today.
Wow, that's amazing. And now, so did you write this? You didn't put this online, I assume. You went right to the publisher with this.
No, this was a straight up contract.
And how did you feel about the experience of that? Did you miss the old intimacy with the readers?
Yes, I did. I really did.
Yeah.
I missed getting feedback per chapter from lots of people, and just kind of seeing how people liked it. I missed that. I mean, I would send the chapters to my core group of beta reader personal friends and family, and I would also send it to my editor and my agent. So I got some feedback, but not like posting it online and having it out there.
Yeah, yeah, it's fascinating because it's all changing, and I mean, I think guys like you know, so many people want to be writers. I hear from them all the time, and I think when you do something like this, it just means people think like, oh, well, you know, it's not just a brick wall that I can't get through. There actually is a way to communicate. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say that's a thing that I say to everybody. There's no longer an old boy network between you and the readers.
Right, right.
You can be successful even if the publisher thinks you won't. And what's even, no, seriously. Yeah. I mean, publishers are, you know, publishing companies, they're not there for your benefit. They are businesses. They want to make money. So new authors are a risk to them. They don't know for sure whether or not their books are going to sell. So what's really cool is self-publishing can be an avenue into traditional publishing. I definitely recommend traditional publishing. I would not like, you know, I now have my choice of doing either way, right? And I definitely prefer traditional publishing because, yeah, I would make more money per sale if I self-published, but traditional publishers have a marketing and publicity engine that just one person by themselves could never hope to match. They're really good at what they do. They know how to sell books, and they know how to get the books into the hands of reviewers who write for prestigious papers and websites, and they know how to get people talking about the book. Yep. They get you booked on radio shows. They do all that stuff. So you can't beat that. But if you can't break in yet, then you can self-publish. And if your story's good, people will recommend it to each other and give it high ratings and whatnot. And then if you get good sales, you can go back to the publisher and you can say, look, these are my sales numbers.
Already works. So now
I'm no longer making a creative case for my book. I'm making a business case for my book.
Yeah.
I'm telling you why you will make money because this is how well it's selling right now.
Great.
And so you can get in that way.
I hate to cut you off, but I'm out of time. Andy Weir, the author of The Martian and now of Artemis. Great story. Really interesting to hear about this. And I wish you the best of luck with the book. You're a terrific, really entertaining writer. I like it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Andy. I appreciate you coming on. All right, Andy Weir, author of Artemis and The Martian. I really found that so interesting, the way he came up that way. It's just especially because he had given up. You know, I'm sure every writer in America, everyone who wants to be a writer in America must love that story.